Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Monday. I hope everyone's really well and that you had a wonderful weekend. Another scorching hot day today. So don't forget to stay hydrated, stay cool. So I want to discuss calorie restriction and how it relates to weight loss. So earlier in the group, I did a post and I said, what do you need to focus on this week? Do you need to focus on tracking, or do you need to increase your exercise to make sure that you're in a state of calorie restriction? So okay, let's clarify this, because this is the foundation of weight loss, and there's a lot of confusion. People say, well, calories don't matter, it's all about quantity, quality, blah, blah, blah. Look, calories are the foundation of weight loss. Because calorie is a unit of energy. So really, if you have extra body fat on you, you have extra energy. And you need to break down and liberate that energy and basically get rid of it. And that's where the calories come in, because they're a unit of energy. Now, this is the foundation. Okay, in order for someone to lose weight, you do have to be in some sort of restriction, and it's calorie restriction. So when we look at what we're doing, we're looking at, am I in a calorie deficit over the week? On average over the week. So when we weigh in once a week, we're looking at, okay, well, was my week in a calorie deficit? Now, when we're looking at calorie restriction, I'm just saying calorie restriction as you understand it, restricting calories, but that can be very different for different people. So that could be maybe you're fasting and that's giving you that restriction. Maybe you go low carb and that's giving you the restriction, or maybe you do exercise daily and that puts you into calorie restriction. But regardless, in order to lose body weight, you have to be in caloric restriction. And for us, over the week, because we're weighing once a week, our weekly total, we want to be in deficit. But here's the thing, and this is where people get confused, because then you're like, well, what about my metabolism? What about my thyroid? What about this, that, and the other? Okay, when we start considering all these different things, we're still considering metabolism. So if your baseline metabolism, so I'm going to give you a generic example right now. If your baseline metabolism is 1,500 calories a day, and that is basically your NEAT, the energy you burn just going about your daily life, and then your basal metabolic rate, which is like just surviving, organ function, brain function, all the energy you use there, and then maybe a bit of thermoregulation from digestion or whatever foods you eat. So let's just say your baseline metabolism is 1,500 calories. And that's without adding in extra exercise or a walk or anything. We want to put you into calorie deficit so you lose weight by the end of the week. And we're presuming there's no other issues or morbidities or thyroid issues going on. You're just the average person. So then we're going to put you into a calorie deficit each day, and maybe we'll reduce your calories 200 calories a day, let's say. And that's going to approximately give us a pound of body weight loss by the end of the week. Maybe we'd cut you a bit more, we'll see. But this is just the average, because days vary from person to person. So that's really the basis of weight loss. That person, they have no other health issues or anything. Their metabolism is just trucking along, and the baseline is 1,500 calories a day. We're going to reduce their calories, and then they see a weight loss by the end of the week. That's great. Now, what if you're the person that says, well, I don't eat a lot, I already do all of this and I can't lose weight? We still have to look at the metabolism. So let's say you have hypothyroidism, and hypothyroidism slows down your metabolism. So now let's say, on average, you're eating 1,200 calories a day, let's say. But because of your hypothyroidism, your metabolism, your baseline is actually 1,000 calories. So you're still not under eating for your baseline metabolism, you're still kind of technically overeating. If you're eating 1,200 calories a day, but your metabolism is running at 1,000 calories a day, because you have hypothyroidism or some other influences on your metabolism, blood sugar issues, stress, or something like that, you're still, although you think, oh my God, I'm only eating 1,200 calories, you're still eating more than what your body needs right now to just function. Does that make sense? So this is where the confusion comes in. And if you're in a state like that, then I'm obviously going to be hesitant to drop calories even more. Potentially in the short term, you could, like 3 to 5 days. Like the 3-day cleanse is quite low in calories, but it's high in nutrition. 3 to 5 days, maybe you could do it. Longer than that, it's not going to be sustainable. And then you have the issues with like rebounding with leptin and stuff. So anyway, now I'm thinking of one client right now, and she was forced into menopause 4 or 5 years ago. So she had a full hysterectomy done, and she then was pushed straight into menopause, and she was in her mid-40s, and since then she's just never felt the same. So let's look at that. Right now, crazy as it seems, I had her track last week. And I'm going to touch on something else. So the first 3 weeks, we're together 6 weeks. First 3 weeks, she lost each 3 weeks. And then she plateaued. And I'm going to come back to what I believe part of the plateau was. So then I had her track saying, why is she not losing weight? So she's averaging 900 calories a day, which is insane. Like I can't, in good conscience, I can't cut her calories even more. That would just be detrimental. It would be healthy. It would be negligible of me. So what I've done then is I've given her a higher protein, higher fiber meal plan, and I've also encouraged her to bring in the exercise so that that will put her into a calorie deficit. Now, because her schedule is pretty crazy, we're looking at just doing walks and abs right now, and she's going to 2 concerts this week. So I'm like, do a lot of dancing, do a lot of jumping around. We want to put you into that calorie deficit. So you get that. She's in 900 calories. I can't drop her calories even more. And she's like desperate at this stage. So we have to bring in the exercise, but we have a challenge because of her schedule. So you can, I know many of you can relate to this. This is why I want to do this video, to help you really understand these scenarios that pop up. So once this week's over, she said she'll have some more time to bring in other forms of exercise. Now, why did this drop her metabolism so much? Because she has always been an avid exerciser. So when you get the hysterectomy, what you do, the hysterectomy has such a ripple effect that women don't understand, but I also understand that sometimes a hysterectomy is the only option. So it's kind of a catch-22 scenario, which is why women need to be diligent as we age and understanding the different variables, which sounds complicated, but it's really not. The hardest thing is doing it. You like your bitter, tart, spicy, sour foods, those should be a staple, high protein, fiber, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so when you get a hysterectomy, all your hormones plummet, especially estrogen, and estrogen is very much a regulator of insulin sensitivity. So now her insulin resistance increased because the change in the estrogen. When you get a hysterectomy, estrogen actually directly influences how your body metabolizes cholesterol and fat. This is why we see a lot of women who get a hysterectomy, they start to have cholesterol and triglyceride issues because they're not metabolizing the fat as much anymore. And this kind of as well, if I was to put it in a visual for you, as women age and they go through menopause, because the estrogen changes, then the insulin resistance changes and how we metabolize blood sugar changes. Now you start to see, as we say in the health fitness world, your butt basically relocates to your stomach. So women lose their ass and they gain a stomach because of the change in the hormones and the insulin resistance and the cortisol there coming into the stomach. So with her hysterectomy, it pushed her in that way, and it was very stressful for her. It was very traumatic. So you have to consider the cortisol then. And all of this stress and all these changes in hormones slowed her metabolism right down now that she could function, I think, potentially like 800 to 900 calories a day. Like, that's her baseline, which is crazy. And I've mentioned before that most people, when they sleep over 8 hours across a night, the average person only burns 300 calories. So if your metabolism is slowed right down, you very much could just run on 800 or 900 calories a day. But then as a professional, I'm not willing to drop the calories anymore. I would rather increase the exercise if possible. The easiest way to do that right now, to kind of get things moving on the scales with her, is cardio, aerobic cardio and abs. So the aerobic cardio, in the aspect of it, breaks down the carbon bonds, and that's how you lose body fat. You break the carbon bonds and you exhale the carbon. So aerobic exercise is going to be best for that right now. And because of the hysterectomy and how that connects to like visceral fat and cholesterol and tummy fat, you know, I'm always avid in saying let's do abs before our cardio, because we encourage blood flow to the core, and that then liberates and helps to move and relocate the fat there and use it for energy and so on and so on. But here's an interesting thought. This client, she was doing great for the first 3 weeks, and then she had a breakup with her boyfriend 3 weeks ago, and that was when she started to plateau. So we're having this conversation now of, did the breakup affect you so much now that you're holding on to the weight with the negative energy and the inflammation, and maybe you're so upset and not feeling worthy of losing the weight and being your best? And that whole conversation, like, it's definitely something that needs to be considered. Bonnie, I see you watching, and I know you can relate to what I'm saying. Our emotional connection to our journey very much can influence our results, if we're going to be successful or not, if we're going to struggle to lose a few pounds. I know a lot of you like know this, but back to the metabolism aspect. To lose body fat, you do have to be in some sort of calorie deficit. But if you're already so low that we can't really cut the calories anymore, like, that's not realistic, that's not practical, because a big part of losing weight is also making sure you have the proper nutrients there. Then if you're already so low, our only other option then to put you into that deficit is to increase your calorie expenditure, the calories going out. Or another way to put it would be to encourage exhalation more. So we're exhaling more of those carbons. So just again, fat cells are made of carbon chains, and when you break those carbon chains, you get the ATP energy on one hand, and then you exhale the carbon on the other hand. So the more you can exhale, the more of these carbon bonds you're breaking down and getting out of your body. So that's fat metabolism. So I hope this makes sense, because there's a lot of confusion, like, oh, my metabolism's slow, I'm not sleeping, I have chronic stress, I have chronic inflammation, aches and pains, emotional stress. All of this for sure can influence your weight, because it influences your metabolism and slows everything down. So just to give you another quick analogy before I wrap up, I really don't want to confuse you, but you know when you're very stressed, well, your body slows everything down except for the stress response that's going to enable you to punch and run, basically. But it'll slow down digestion, it slows down reproduction, it'll slow down metabolism when it comes to fat burning, because it's like, hey, she's about to punch and run and survive this stress, whatever it might be. So we got to preserve this fat because she's going to need it for survival. So everything gets slowed down apart from the punch and run aspect of things. So all of that can slow down your metabolism. And then at that stage, we're like, okay, well, what is your approximate baseline metabolism? We need to put you into a deficit regardless of what's causing it. We will address that, but we know for fat loss, we need to have you in a deficit. So how are we going to influence that? And then as we do that influence, then we can come back and say, okay, let's improve sleep. Let's take in these nutrients for thyroid. Let's do this, that, and the other. How can we address the stress, and so on and so on. But the very baseline of metabolism, you must be in a calorie deficit to lose body fat. You break those carbon bonds, you're in a calorie, which is a unit of energy, to then see the results on Saturday or whatever day you weigh. So if though you're already doing everything, but your baseline metabolism is very, very low, then how can we then put you in a calorie deficit? Does that make sense? Because I'm well aware there's confusion around metabolism. And again, I'm already doing all this, but no matter what I try, I'm not seeing results. Before I wrap up, there have been instances where I have looked at people's nutrition and I'm like, well, you think you're in a calorie deficit or you think you're eating well, but you're absolutely not. And then I have looked at other things where maybe portion sizes are too much, and this is where the tracking comes in. And then there are people that are doing great with their nutrition, and I know they are, but they're not seeing the results, and I know they absolutely need to increase some sort of planned movement, exercise, walk, hike, dance aerobics, whatever it is, something to get the exhalation, the carbons out. So I hope that makes sense. I'm going to leave it at that because the more I talk, the more confusing it gets. If you have questions, please let me know. And please comment and let me know that you actually listened to this, because I like to know who's paying attention. Okay, bye everyone.